Jack-o'-lantern, the OG Halloween plant, and since it's Halloween, I thought why not try to solo the game with it. But even at max level, there are a couple things like sun cost, recharge time, and most importantly the dragon imp who is immune to fire attacks that make the jack-o'-lantern struggle even at max level. But let's see how it does. And before we begin, let me lay down the rules for you. Only jack-o'-lantern, no power-ups or Zen Garden, skip all levels that force the use of another plant, pre-placed plants are fine, and lastly, coins earned throughout the challenge can be used to buy plant food, but no replaying levels to farm coins. Oh, and about 91% of people who watch my videos aren't actually subscribed, so if you end up enjoying the video, consider subscribing. It's free and you can always change your mind later. Okay, let's begin. Day 1 starts, and as soon as I planted my first jack-o'-lantern, I realized that this challenge wasn't going to be as easy that I initially thought. That's due to the reason that the second jack-o'-lantern took 15 seconds to recharge. And alongside that 15-second recharge, the sun cost is also pretty big, 175. And while I'm telling you the stats, let me mention the other ones as well. Its health goes from 300 to 900. Its damage goes from 300 to 550. Its plant food damage goes from 120 to 350 per second, and it lasts for 7.5 seconds. And like I mentioned a couple of seconds ago, its sun cost goes from 225 to 175, so not that big of a difference. Also, its recharge goes from 20 seconds to 15 seconds. Again, not that big of a difference for a max level plant. With the mastery levels, it has the damage boost and also a 20% chance to boost on placement. And last but not least, what makes the max level jack-o'-lantern so special, its flame attack goes from a 3-tile range to a 5-tile range. And so far, the jack-o'-lantern is probably the plant that gets the least buffed from being max level. And honestly, it makes sense because even at level 1, the jack-o'-lantern is pretty overpowered, mainly because of its insane damage. But aside from the stats, we had now beaten day 3 of Ancient Egypt, and like I mentioned earlier, the main problems with the jack-o'-lantern are its high sun cost and also its high recharge time. And that just makes it so when faster zombies or special challenges come in, the jack-o'-lantern is going to struggle a little bit. But thankfully, we have something that's pretty overpowered in our arsenal, and that's the jack-o'-lantern's plant food. And when used, it spawns 5 to 9 wisps that target random zombies on the map. And this plant food ability becomes the most important asset when we start facing much more difficult levels. And on the topic of difficulty, days 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, and 14 were all beaten very easily. Day 15 was in no way difficult either, and it was actually much easier because it gave us these 3 sunflowers to work with. And I stopped here just to mention that these were my favorite levels because it made it very easy to farm sun and get the jack-o'-lanterns down very fast. And in doing so, day 15 was beat alongside days 16 and 17, but day 18 is our first prep your defenses level, so we prep defenses. Day 19 is one of the levels with the mold colonies, which can be a little annoying, but they're not too hindering, so day 19 was beaten pretty easily as well. Day 20, again an easy level with 4 sunflowers to support us, and days 21, 22, and 23 weren't difficult either, as Gargantua introduced in the top level got taken out very quickly with the jack-o'-lanterns. And now we're on the last level of Ancient Egypt, day 24, where we have to prep defenses. And just like that, all of Ancient Egypt had been beaten. Next up, Pirate Seas, we're going to be super speeding past because like Ancient Egypt, it was a very easy world and nothing special really happened. We were introduced to the special challenge where we have to protect flowers from being trampled on, and those can be problematic if they're too far forward, but the farthest forward they were in Pirate Seas was about halfway through the map. So though still a little challenging, it was pretty easily beaten, and that was all of Pirate Seas beaten with just a max level jack-o'-lantern. Next up, the Wild West, one of the better worlds for expensive plants because you have access to the mine carts, which allow you to move the plants around without having to shovel them, which makes it very easy to take out all the zombies without having to worry about not having enough sun. And in doing so, days 2, 3, and 5 were quickly defeated. Day 6, I prepped defenses. Day 7 itself was pretty easy as well, but day 10, although we're given a very generous minecart in the middle that has access to all 5 lanes, this level is the start of genuine difficulty in the run, and it's due to one singular reason: the chicken zombies, who though the jack-o'-lantern has a pretty effective attack against, they can still be problematic if you're not fast enough in maneuvering the jack-o'-lantern. And due to this, I lost the lawnmower in the very top lane, but then a plant food ability triggered another chicken wrangler, so I saw chickens in the top middle lane, so I moved the jack-o'-lantern down, but then in doing so, some chickens got through in that top lane, making it all the way across and defeating me for the first time. On my second attempt, my plan was to use stalling tactics and collect sun early on, but then right as I placed my first jack-o'-lantern in a different lane, it plant fooded and took the zombie out, hindering my plan of stalling. But throwing the stalling away, I stuck to my normal plan and planted 3 jack-o'-lanterns in the top 3 lanes because I knew the chicken wranglers first appear there, and if I had those covered, I wouldn't have to worry about the chickens getting through at all. And this worked out pretty well, as none of the chickens were getting through. There were some scary things when the chickens started attacking the jack-o'-lantern, so I'd plant food them to get rid of them, but then I completely forgot to do that for this middle jack-o'-lantern, and the chickens ate it, getting all the way to the lawnmower. But thankfully the final wave came in, and I say thankfully because the final wave of day 10 doesn't have any chicken wranglers. So we took out this last conehead, and day 10 had been defeated on our second attempt. Day 11 is pretty annoying because it has a 500 sun limit, meaning we can only plant 2 jack-o'-lanterns. But making use of the 2 minecarts and maneuvering the jack-o'-lanterns around, and then spamming plant food for the final wave, we're able to win pretty easily. Day 13 was pretty easy as well. Day 14 is where the chickens once again returned. But the first chicken wrangler came in pretty late, and we already had 4 jack-o'-lanterns down. And by the time we started seeing a lot more of the chicken wranglers, we had a jack-o'-lantern in every single lane. Now all it would take to beat this level would be just making sure that the plants don't get eaten. But I completely failed as there's too many chickens in that top middle lane and they ate through getting to the lawnmower. But luckily, once again, that was the last of the zombies, and day 14 had been defeated. Day 15, we couldn't lose more than 2 plants, which wasn't too hard of a task. Day 16, we had to protect a walnut on a minecart. Once again, pretty easy. Day 17, like I mentioned in the Pirate Seas, is a don't let the zombies trample your flowers level. But this level in particular is pretty easy because it gives us a minecart with access to all 5 lanes, so it's nearly impossible for the zombies to even get close. And we took down day 17. Day 18 was a prep your defenses level. Day 19, we couldn't lose more than 2 plants and also had a 2000 sun limit, so nothing too difficult. Day 21 ramped up the pace a little bit because it was a protect your flowers from being trampled on level, but this time we didn't have the minecart in front to work with. So I stalled the zombie until the last second and then placed a lantern on top of it just to collect more sun, doing the exact same thing for the second zombie as well. And I was getting pretty lucky this level in planting my lanterns and them plant fooding immediately, which was helping tremendously in me not getting overwhelmed. And as the zombies were approaching in the middle lane, I used a plant food to take them out, and we had effectively beaten day 21. But now we're on day 23, an even more insane version of that previous level. Basically, we have to protect the flowers from being trampled on, but the catch is that this level has chicken wranglers in it. And if you look in the top lane, you'll see that sometimes the lantern and their fires just glitch out and the chickens don't take damage from it, so the chickens got through, trampling my flowers and defeating me. So I knew to counteract this, I was gonna have to pay close attention and perfectly time my plant foods, which of course give the lanterns invulnerability for the duration that they're using the plant food ability, and also heals them alongside doing the attack itself. Strategically, it's sort of a 3-way buff. And in this level, I ended up using 2000 coins to buy plant food, and we beat it on the second attempt. And now we're on day 24, the last level of the Wild West. And in this level, we have to protect the walnuts from the hordes of chicken wranglers and all the other zombies. So I semi-stalled this first zombie until it got about halfway through, but this was a mistake and I should have stalled it more, as I got overwhelmed pretty quickly and 2 of the lanes lost their lawnmowers. And normally whenever I use the plant food ability, it targets the most upfront zombie, but then when I did it here, it just completely ignored that top lane chicken, so it got through and defeated me on my first attempt. On my second try, I stalled that first zombie until it got almost to the end, and this time I was able to get down 5 jack-o'-lanterns before things got too hectic. And knowing I would need them, I started planting a second column as well. And this second column of jack-o'-lanterns was 2 lanes up front, and this was mainly due to the reason so they could protect the walnuts from any zombies that were biting them, because the range of the farther back lanterns don't reach all the walnuts. And using this strategy, we had now beaten all of Wild West using just a max level jack-o'-lantern. Next up, The Frostbite Caves, a world which is usually difficult for most plants, but since jack-o'-lantern is a fire plant, the freezing effect of the world doesn't do anything against it. So due to this, days 1, 2, 4, 6, and lastly 7 were all defeated without difficulty. But then we ran into day 9, which introduces the Dodo Mechs, which are a bit more speedy than normal zombies, so this first one took out the bottom middle lawnmower, and then more in the very bottom lane took that second lawnmower. But then as the last of them came into that bottom lane, I got down my last jack-o'-lantern and we beat day 9. Day 11 is usually a pretty big difficulty spike since it has 4 flags and also there's a lot of freezing winds. But since jack-o'-lantern has infinite pierce and counters the winds, day 11 wasn't a problem either. Day 12, defenses were prepped. Day 13, we couldn't let the zombies trample these flowers in the back, so I stalled the first zombie until it got about halfway and then placed my jack-o'-lantern down, doing the same with other zombies that were walking in. But then, by the time we got down 5 jack-o'-lanterns, there wasn't much else that was going to defeat us, besides maybe this gargantuar in the bottom lane, which launched into imp, but then I was able to plant food and take it out as well. And taking out this last Yeti imp in the top middle lane, we beat day 13. Day 15 has 4 flags, and we have to protect these pepper poults from the zombies. And everything seemed to be going well, but then I didn't realize that the jack-o'-lantern in the top lane had a cone head on top of it that had just eaten through it and then made it to the pepper pool. And I tried launching my lawnmower, but before I got there, the cone head took out the pepper pool, taking me out. But this was a very easy fix, and on the second attempt, we won pretty easily. And after this, days 17, 19, 20, 22, 23, 26, and lastly 27 were all defeated very easily. And now we're on day 28, the last level of Frostbite Caves, where we first have to prepare defenses. And just like that, we had beaten all of Frostbite Caves using just a max level jack-o'-lantern. Next up, Lost City, we're just going to be super speeding through because we're given the gold tiles to work with in basically every single level, which makes it so that the sun isn't a problem and we're more so just dependent on the recharge of the jack-o'-lantern. And within Lost City, there's only really one level that was kind of a threat because we lost 4 lawnmowers, but even then we're able to defeat it on our first attempt. And that was all of Lost City beaten using just a max level jack-o'-lantern. Next up, Far Future, we're also just going to be super speeding through because I could say there were some levels, but in all honesty, it wasn't difficult at all. And if I was to cover all the levels, it'd be a lot of repetitiveness. And the biggest threats in Far Future to jack-o'-lantern were either just jetpack zombies for their speed or the robo imps because they land in further into the map. But besides that, everything else was pretty easy. And that was all of Far Future beaten using just a max level jack-o'-lantern. Next up, the Dark Ages, which is definitely an annoying world because of the high sun cost of jack-o'-lantern. And even though we do have the gold bloom to support us, even that at some points isn't enough sun. But nights 1 and 2, we had sun gravestones to break and get sun out of, so it was actually pretty easy to defeat them. Day 3, however, doesn't have any sun gravestones, so it's pretty treacherous as we literally have to let multiple lanes get all the way to the lawnmower. But then we got pretty lucky with our jack-o'-lantern placement as it plant fooded and only one lane had to use a lawnmower. And like I'd mentioned back in ancient Egypt, the plant food ability is definitely the saver of this run, as it was the main source of damage for the lanes that didn't have a jack-o'-lantern in them. But as the final wave came in, I was able to get down a 5th jack-o'-lantern and we took down night 3. Night 5 introduces the Jester, a usual annoying zombie, but in face of the jack-o'-lantern, they're taken out very quickly. And night 5 actually spawned some sun gravestones throughout the level, so I was able to get down my 5 jack-o'-lanterns pretty quickly, and we defeated night 5. Night 6 was a prepare your defenses level, so it was actually pretty easy as we had a lot of sun to work with. As the final wave was decimated, night 6 was taken down. Night 7 was definitely a struggle, as in the top lane we lost our lawnmower and we couldn't even get a jack-o'-lantern down in the bottom middle lane, and we ended up defeating the zombies using the plant food. Night 9, though it had the potions that make the zombies stronger and faster, it also gave us sun gravestones, so we're able to make use of those and get down our 5 jack-o'-lanterns by the time that the the first big wave was coming in. And after this, nothing was a problem. Night 11 can sometimes be annoying because of that gravestone in the very back that can sometimes spawn 2 zombies and take you out that way, but thankfully my jack-o'-lantern's plant food was able to take it out. But then we're also introduced to the wizard zombie, who can genuinely be annoying if you're not playing against it in the right way. And what I mean by right way is basically just having your placements in the correct spot. And by placements, I mean you just want to have your jack-o'-lanterns up front so that they can hit that very beginning tile so the wizards don't have any time to do their attack. And employing this strategy, we took out all the wizards of the final wave, and night 11 had been defeated. Night 12, we have to protect these puff shrooms in the back, and some zombies got pretty close in the very beginning, but I was able to just use a plant food on the puff shroom to take them out. Our only main priority this level was making sure that we had jack-o'-lanterns in every single lane before the jesters came in, and I was successfully able to do this. And alongside that, our placements were perfect for the wizards as well, as they didn't have any time to do anything. And as the final wave of zombies was annihilated, we successfully protected the puff shrooms, defeating night 12. Night 15, I prepped defenses. Night 16, we had some sun gravestone support, so our win was pretty simple. Night 17's even easier, as we literally have too much sun to work with, and though the zombies are mega boosted, they basically stand no chance of the insane damage of the lantern. The kings also don't even get a chance to make any knights, as they're taken out instantly, but somehow some wizards were able to turn my jack-o'-lanterns into sheep, and I could have used my plant food to take them out, but I kind of just let them sheepify all of my lanterns and then slowly walk their way all the way to the lawnmower. And we had beaten this level with an insane 2600 sun left over in the bank. But now we're on the final level of the Dark Ages, night 19, where we're tasked to protect these 3 magnet shrooms from the oncoming zombies. And this actually was a little scary because the recharge of the jack-o'-lantern wasn't fast enough, so I was having to use plant food to take out zombies in that top lane. But then as I got down a lantern behind every magnet shroom, I felt pretty safe. And slowly but surely I was able to get down lanterns in the other lanes as well. And just like that, we had beaten all of Dark Ages using just a max level jack-o'-lantern. Next up, the Neon Mixtape Tour, another world which is pretty easy, but instead of super speeding through all of it, I'm instead just gonna jump to the levels that were semi-difficult. Like day 5 for example, where we have to protect these fat beets and 2 walnuts, and I had to make some awkward choices in where to place my lanterns at first. And with the recharge of the lantern being so slow, that walnut in the top lane was actually in danger. So as zombies started approaching it, I thankfully was able to get down another jack-o'-lantern to protect the walnut up top. But in doing so, the fat bee right under almost got eaten by the zombie, so I used a plant food on it to take him out. And then I'd completely forgotten that I didn't have a lawnmower in that middle lane, and the zombies almost got through as one of my plant foods didn't hit the one zombie, but thankfully a second one did, and we beat day 5. And the next genuinely difficult level was day 21, where we had to protect these flowers in the back from being trampled on. You'd think at first that this wouldn't be too difficult, as we have a lot of space to work with in front of the flowers, but this level, just to start off, sends off 2 zombies in 2 different lanes. This very quickly causes a problem, as we can't get down 2 jack-o'-lanterns fast enough for the 2 zombies. But even worse, as I have to take out one of the zombies, more zombies come into every other lane. And this mostly included the speedy zombies like the mohawk and the dancing kickers, and I used a lawnmower for the mohawk and then used a plant food for the dancing kickers. But this of course left that cone head in the top lane, so I had to shovel my lantern in the middle to get that cone head in that top lane. But then as you see on screen, we had a Gargantuar come in, and the best thing here would have been using a mower launch, but since I already used it, I couldn't do that, so I planted a jack-o'-lantern, plant fooded it, but then somehow the Gargantuar still took it out even though the lantern was plant fooded. And this was detrimental, as now some zombies were quickly approaching the flowers, and I tried to buy a plant food and use it, but the plant food didn't hit the dancing kicker in the middle lane and it ended up trampling the flowers. And at this point, I definitely knew this level was going to be rough, and we're gonna have to use our coins to buy plant food. On the second attempt, I completely mistimed when to place my lantern, so the zombie in the middle lane ended up just almost trampling the flowers, so I just restarted. On the third attempt, I didn't mistime it, but it was still looking pretty treacherous right off the bat, so I ended up using a mower launch, but then my lantern also plant fooded and the mower launch was kind of just wasted, but nevertheless I kept going, and I kind of just left it up to luck, because this time I didn't use a shovel to move my lantern up top and nearly lost to the cone head flood that was about to trample the flowers. And then right after, a imp got launched right over my middle lantern, but I kind of just let it go. And as the final wave was about to come in, I used the plant food, and luckily it took out the exact zombies I needed it to. And now with only the final wave left, the bottom 3 lanes were easily dealt with because we had lanterns in them. And there was a pretty close call in the top lane, but thankfully the plant food hit the zombies and I was able to get a lantern down, finally defeating day 21. Day 26 wasn't difficult, but I did have a very close call because I forgot that I didn't have a mower in the middle lane, and then I tried to shovel a lantern for sun, but the lantern was on recharge, so I had to buy a plant food and very luckily got it off at the very last moment, taking out the Gargantuar and the imp, beating day 26. And now we're on day 30, the last level that we play of the Neon Mixtape Tour. And because of this microphone whipper in the bottom middle lane, I had to shovel one of my lanterns, which basically sets me back a little bit, and due to this I ended up losing a lawnmower in that bottom middle lane, the middle lane, and also the very bottom lane. And there was once again a slight problem with this Gargantuar in the middle lane as I didn't have a lawnmower, but a plant food ability was able to take it out and the imp that was launched. But then due to 2 more Gargs in the very top 2 lanes, I ended up losing the mowers in all the lanes. But that had also meant that we had beaten all of Neon Mixtape Tour using just a max level jack-o'-lantern. Next up, the Jurassic Marsh. And like I did for the Neon Mixtape Tour, I'm going to be doing for the last 3 worlds as well, as I just jump from difficult level to difficult level. And the Jurassic Marsh becomes very painful with the introduction of the T-Rex dinosaur, which super speeds the zombies that are in its lane. And these 2 I couldn't do anything against, so they just ended up taking the lawnmower. But I quickly developed a strategy, as losing a lawnmower isn't the end of the world, as the jack-o'-lantern is very strong, so all I have to do is just make sure I have a jack-o'-lantern placed in the lane that doesn't have the lawnmower. And I knew that as long as I had a lantern in the lane, there wasn't going to be any zombie that got past it. And employing this strategy, day 18 was defeated. And day 25 was also a difficulty spike as it introduced the Ankylosaurus dinosaur alongside having T-Rexes, which is a pretty bad combo to have, as one super speeds the zombies and the other one launches them across the map. And in the process of beating this level, I was only able to get down 3 jack-o'-lanterns and ended up losing 4 lawnmowers, but we did beat it on the first attempt. And the next level, day 26, is usually made problem by an Ankylosaurus in the very top lane, so I made sure that my first move was placing a lantern 2 tiles in front of the mold colonies in the very top lane, and this basically just counters Ankylosaurus in that lane. And in doing so, we beat day 26 pretty easily. And now there's no more difficult levels in the Jurassic Marsh. We jumped to the last level, day 30, in which we almost lost a lot of lawnmowers, but we're able to use a plant food to fend off the zombies for just a little bit longer. But this didn't help much, as by the end I'd lost 4 lawnmowers and I had a pretty close call with the imp in the very top lane, and then losing my very last lawnmower to the caveman zombie in the middle lane due to the T-Rex. But even so, we had now beaten all of Jurassic Marsh using just a max level jack-o'-lantern. Next up, the Big Wave Beach, and I jumped straight to day 23 because it's one of the 2 levels that are genuinely difficult. And in this level, we have to protect the banana launchers from being destroyed, and our main threats are the fishermen. And though the jack-o'-lanterns do have a 5 tile range, it isn't enough this time because when you plant them on the land, they don't reach that last tile to hit the fishermen. So our only options in this level are either 1, using the banana launchers to take out the fishermen, or 2, planting the jack-o'-lanterns on top of the lily pads. And I used a mix of both, as I did mainly use the banana launchers for the fishermen, but also planted a lantern on that middle lily pad. But there was a problem, as the fisherman in the top middle lane pulled forward my banana launcher 1 tile, and I was too slow targeting a banana launcher onto a fisherman that appeared in the same lane, and it ended up taking my banana into water territory. But I was very lucky, as this was the final wave and the water wasn't going to move up anymore, and as we took out the zombies, we thankfully beat day 23 on our first attempt. But then we jumped straight to the last level of Big Wave Beach, day 30, which is probably the most difficult level of the entire challenge. And the difficulty comes from 4 factors. 1, we have to defend these guacodiles in the back, and even if they get touched once, they die. The second thing is that we have to worry and try to predict where the fishermen are going to pop up, because even the hook, if it touches the guacodiles, they take out the guacodiles. And the third and fourth layers of difficulty difficulty are of course the lantern's sun cost and recharge. And due to this, I actually had to plant food a guacodile in the very bottom lane because otherwise I would have lost. And somehow slowly but surely I was able to get down my lanterns at a pretty good pace because I knew that the third big wave would be a problem as it spawns a fisherman in every single lane. But before they popped up, I was able to get down a jack-o'-lantern in every single lane. And as soon as they did pop up, all of them got taken out instantly. And taking out this final deep sea gargantuar and the imp that was with it, we had now beaten all of Big Wave Beach using just a max level jack-o'-lantern. Next up, modern day, where we finally have to face the dragon imps, and they're honestly devious as there's literally nothing I can do with the jack-o'-lanterns that deal damage to the imps. So our only option is stalling until the very last wave and then just using the lawnmowers to take them out. But you've maybe noticed on this level in the very top lane I don't have a mower and there's dragon imps in that lane, so I do inevitably end up losing to them. On the second attempt however, I knew that I couldn't sacrifice any lawnmowers to stall in the beginning, and I almost lost the lawnmower in that top lane, but I got a jack-o'-lantern down last second. And you've probably noticed my lantern placement here, it's mostly in the very back, and this is just so that I had more time to work with and I could stall for more sun and the dragon imps would come in a little bit later. But then as the first dragon imps do come in, I have to start defeating the other zombies as fast as possible so that the next wave will come in faster. But I already knew from the last attempt that the only other dragon imp that appears in this level is in the bottom middle lane. So now I don't have to worry about the top, middle, and very bottom lane. And basically only had to focus on the middle lane since it didn't have a lawnmower. And in doing so, we defended pretty easily and I launched the lawnmower by myself in the end, beating day 4. But this wasn't the last of the dragon imps, as they once again appear on day 12. Not only that, the first zombie is a dragon imp. And this is the worst case possible because it means that we have to stall this dragon imp until the very end. But for the time being, I kind of just let it get all the way to the lawnmower, as my goal on this first attempt wasn't winning. It was more so just trying to see where and when the other dragon imps spawn in, and also what other zombies the level had, which if you see on the screen, it had some shovels, umbrellas, and also chicken wranglers, and of course the dinosaurs. And an annoying T-Rex appeared in a lane I didn't have a mower in or a lantern in, and the zombies made it all the way to the end. But this wasn't all that bad because from that attempt I got the feeling that this level only sends one dragon imp each in each of the lanes, so I don't actually have to stall the dragon imps until the very end, and I can just let a mower take them out whenever they come in. And my only goal this level should be just defeating all the other zombies and not letting them get through. So this was exactly what I did, and my theory ended up being correct as these 3 dragon imps came in, and after the mowers took them out, the final wave was sent in as well, and the final wave didn't contain any more dragon imps. And due to this, all the zombies in the final wave were taken out very easily and day 12 was defeated. And though the dragon imps weren't going to annoy us anymore, we still had some annoying levels, with one being day 23. And this was basically a big wave beach level that sent in a bunch of octo zombies, and somehow they just kept on covering all my lanterns up. And due to this, I'd actually lost all my lawnmowers before the final wave was sent in. And there was a very close call with this deep sea garg, but I plant fooded, which hit the gargantuar, and then I planted a lantern right on top of it, which thankfully was able to take it out. And somehow, even with all the annoyances in the level, we beat day 23. And remember when I said that the dragon imps aren't going to annoy us anymore? Well, I kind of lied a little bit because they appear again on day 29. And once again, the dragon imp was the first zombie that was sent in. And this time, this is actually a problem because more imps are sent in that same lane a little later on. So I do have to stall that first imp and can't just sacrifice the lawnmower right away. And even though we were about to lose, there was a good thing that came out of this attempt, and that was that I knew that now the only lanes I had to worry about were the middle lane and bottom middle lane, as those are the only lanes with imps in them. And on the second attempt, I planted a lantern right in front of the dragon imp, and I knew that this was the third to last level of the entire challenge, so I could also use my coins. So my way to stall this first dragon imp was basically just plant fooding the lantern whenever I felt like it was low on health. And this was good because one, it healed the lantern and also took out the zombies in the other lanes. And as the final wave came in, it was basically GG's, as I still still had all my mowers intact, and with these last 2 zombies taken out by the mower, we beat day 29 on our second attempt. But right after, we had to face another difficult level. And day 30 of Modern Day is definitely evil because it places the flowers so up front, and then it sends in literally the most annoying zombies throughout the entire level. And honestly, though there were a lot of zombies, I was able to consistently use plant food, having to buy some, but it wasn't too big of a problem as I had 16,000 coins to work with. But you're probably noticing on the screen that an imp is very close to the end and I haven't realized it, and the imp actually ended up taking me out this time. I had completely forgotten that the balloon zombie in the beginning took out the lawnmower. On the second attempt, however, things went a little differently as my lantern plant fooded and took out the balloon zombie, which was actually unplanned. And as I was taking out the hordes of all the other zombies, I realized that was actually good for me as I don't have to worry about the imps anymore. And this time I can just let the cowboy imp get all the way to the mower, and I only needed to worry about the other annoying zombies. And in doing so, I was able to beat day 30 on my second attempt, and we used about 4,000 coins in doing so. But now we're on the very last level of the entire challenge, day 23 of Modern Day. And this is honestly a very easy level. And taking out this last imp, we had now beaten all of Modern Day and all of Plants vs. Zombies 2 using just the max level jack-o'-lantern, which when we started the challenge, I honestly didn't think we're gonna beat every single level since it has a high recharge and cost. But somehow we did it. And that was the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed, and let me know what other plants I should try. Okay, bye bye.